Hello guys, it's a bit noisy out here. It's beautiful weather, so taking advantage of the good weather. So it's been a little bit dusty, but I would definitely say this is really beautiful weather that we're having past couple of days. And I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the Roxor and what might be going on with the marketplace for the Mahindra Roxor. So we've seen recently that there's a lot of people who are selling their Roxors, and you might be wondering what exactly is going on with the market for Mahindra Roxors. Is it that people don't want them anymore? Is it that they are no longer as popular as people expected? Or is there something else that's going on with the Roxors? Well, it's quite difficult to tell the motivation for each and every person that sells their Roxor, but it looks like there is some kind of consensus that many people who bought them probably live in towns and small cities, and they don't have the space and the time, to take their Roxors off-road. You have to remember that this is not road legal in many states, and in some other states you actually have to do some modifications to get the Roxor to be street legal. So all of those little constraints make people end up not using the Roxor as much as they would have loved to. Another thing you have to bear in mind is that the Roxor is sold as a bare bones vehicle. So you won't have a cab, for example. You won't have the windshield, you won't have a lift kit, you won't have the big tires. So in its basic form, the Roxor is it looks really I wouldn't use the word diminutive, but it looks smaller, much smaller in person. But once you start doing modifications like putting on bigger tires, raising the suspension, then it starts taking more and more the form of a more classic vehicle, and it looks a little bit more impressive. So those are some of the things that people who buy the Roxor for maybe a specific use, and they find out after a couple of months that it's not exactly what they wanted, and so they end up selling their Roxor. So let's jump in here. I usually try to get mine started and drive around whenever I get a chance, and that usually is at least once, maybe at times twice a week, and that works for me. So here, let's get everything ready to start up. And just to highlight, I am still on my original battery. You guys heard that it was just a little bit weak, the cranking, but it cranked through and started, so that's great. Alright, I like using the P2 program. That gives me quite a bit of gas and power. Okay, let's back up. The price of gas and the price of diesel both are very high right now. So for some people, depending on how much you drive, it might make sense to park your diesel powered vehicles, whereas for others it makes even more sense to use a vehicle like the Roxor, because depending on how much you drive and the availability of fuel, the Roxor might actually end up consuming way less than a traditional vehicle because of the diesel engine that it has. So let's jump out, and yeah, so this is just perfect weather to go out driving with the Roxor. And I think, like I was talking about the people selling their Roxors, I also think that some of the people who are selling, they just did not prepare their Roxor to be able to handle harsh weather conditions. When you see the base Roxor, it looks all nice, but it's very easy to underestimate how uncomfortable it gets. Let's say you are being hit by the wind at 10 miles an hour over a period of maybe 5-10 minutes. It gets, it starts dehydrating you. You have bugs out there that might be, biting on you, trying to get some blood. You also have dust particles. And then if you have stuff that you are putting in the Roxor, you're always thinking, hey, where do I put my charger? Is it safe if I walk away from my Roxor? So all those considerations end up making people pack their Roxor and don't use it as much as they would have loved to when they were purchasing the Roxor. So if you look at the guys with the cabs, I think they tend to use their Roxors more, and they tend to keep it a little bit longer than those that just end up with the base Roxor with no form of protection from the environment. So additions that you can add to things that you can add to make your ownership experience more enjoyable. You have the heat ventilation AC system for the Roxor that you can buy aftermarket or even directly from the OEM. I believe they still have those in stock, and you can modify your Roxor to actually have air conditioning, or at the very least you need a heater in here. I don't know about the guys in Texas, but even down there, if you have some early morning operations, it might get a little bit chilly inside. So very, very important to have a comfortable climate when you are operating your Roxor. The other thing to consider, one other thing to consider, is the current economic situation in the country. It's quite delicate. It's a very delicate and very politically charged discussion. I don't think this is the right forum, but yeah, a lot of people are going through a certain hardship right now, and so if they have any toys, anything that they're not using, they tend to sell, and that way they can have some extra cash. That way they can weather the uncertain future that we have over the next couple of months, and maybe weeks, months at least. So those are some of the reasons, and of course one other very popular reason why people sell their Roxors is because they are moving. So when you are moving, depending on where you are going, it's very, very expensive to move a vehicle like this cross country. And if you are moving to an area where you don't have, you can't use the Roxor on the public roads, and also you, how can I put it? You don't have a very safe place to store your Roxor. If you're not out in the country, then it becomes very difficult, and for most people it's just an easy choice, and they tend to let their Roxors go for even much less than they bought the Roxor for. So a whole slew of reasons why people are letting go of their Roxors. And I just wanted to have that little discussion with you guys today, because I also I have noticed that it seems to be like a whole bunch of Roxors on sale recently and of late. So anyways, thanks for joining me. Let me jump in and go for my little ride. Okay, get that in gear. Alright guys, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye.